After investing everything into my girlfriend's clothing line, I found out she had trademarked it under another man's name. When I confronted her, she smirked, "It's just business." I smiled too, then sued for breach of contract and seized every last piece of her inventory. Selling it myself under a brand that bore my name, not hers. I never thought I'd be the guy typing out my life story on the internet like this. But some betrayals eat at you slowly. It's like a dull knife you keep pretending isn't there, until one day, you look down and realize you're bleeding out. This is about my ex, Jenna. It's also about my business. But mostly, it's about what happens when you give someone everything, and they smile while setting fire to it all. I was 29, living in Raleigh, North Carolina, working my ass off running a small auto detailing shop I'd built from nothing. I wasn't rich, but I was comfortable. Paid off my old student loan, drove a decent Silverado, had a 2-bedroom apartment just off Six Forks Road. Life felt solid. Then Jenna happened. We met at a local art and design expo downtown. She was working a booth for her college fashion project, something about Southern identity in modern textiles. I wasn't even into fashion, but I was into her. She had this spark in her, one of those people who walks into a room and turns the air electric. She asked me what I did. I told her I cleaned cars. She laughed and said she loved a man who worked with his hands. I was done. We started dating a week later. Things moved fast. Within a few months, she was spending more time at my place than her campus apartment. She always talked about fashion like it was a war she was ready to win. Her dream was to build a brand that mixed grit and softness, that was her favorite phrase. Like pine and silk, she used to say. Strong roots, soft touch. She came up with that on her own. And when she said she wanted to start a real business, I didn't hesitate. I asked how I could help. She needed startup capital. I told her I had $48,000 saved, life savings, mostly from the shop and some smart flips in used equipment sales. She got quiet when I offered it. Told me I didn't have to. But I said I believed in her. And I did. I believed in what we were building together. We got the first batch of inventory from a screen printer in Charlotte. Jenna handled design. I handled logistics. I built the Shopify site. I set up the Stripe account. She posed for the launch photos. I packed every single one of the first 1,000 orders myself, sitting on the floor of our apartment with rolls of tape and bubble wrap. The brand was Pine and Silk. And for a while, it worked. Really worked. We were featured in a local lifestyle mag. Some influencers in Raleigh and Asheville started tagging us. I reinvested every dollar we made. Jenna wanted to keep pushing bigger drops, new designs. I worked late nights to make sure inventory could match her ambitions. We started outsourcing fulfillment, getting bulk orders ready for regional shops. At one point, I remember sitting in bed next to her, and she turned and said, "We're gonna make it. This is gonna be our thing." I smiled and kissed her forehead. Turns out, she meant her thing. By the time we hit our 2-year mark, we were on the edge of going national. A boutique chain from Charleston wanted to carry our line. Jenna started talking about doing interviews, influencer tours. She said she needed to travel more to connect with the scene. She went to Atlanta, then Nashville, then LA. When I asked who she was meeting, she always answered like I was annoying her. Just people. Stop being weird. But I knew something was off. Then came the night that changed everything. It was almost 1 a.m. She was in the bathroom. I heard her whispering. The door wasn't closed all the way. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. But you know how it is when something just catches your ear. No, he doesn't know. Everything's under your name, just like we planned. It's just business. I sat up in bed. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just sat there, staring at the ceiling fan, every word echoing in my head. The next morning, I acted like nothing was wrong. Told her I had to go meet a supplier. Instead, I drove straight to Durham to see Ty, my old college buddy who'd gone into corporate law. Tell me everything about the trademarks and the LLC, I said. I need to know if she played me. He pulled up the trademark database. I'll never forget the look on his face when he scrolled through it. Dude, it's not under her name. The trademark for Pine and Silk. It's under a guy named Maurice Ellis. Same guy listed on the LLC. Who the hell is Maurice? I don't know. But he's the legal owner of everything. That moment hit me harder than any punch I've ever taken. I wasn't on the paperwork. I wasn't on the business license. I didn't own a single thread of the company I helped build. I'd poured 2 years of my life and every dollar I had into Pine and Silk, and legally, I didn't exist. But I wasn't just some idiot with no proof. Because I had something Jenna had forgotten. The original co-founder agreement she signed back when we were just two broke dreamers sketching logos on napkins. A PDF I'd saved in 3 places. She said it was symbolic. I told Ty, let's take her down. But first, I needed to look her in the eye. That night, I printed out the filings and set them on the kitchen counter. She walked in from her meeting wearing a dress I'd paid for, holding an oat milk latte like nothing in the world could touch her. What's this? She said. I said nothing. Just pointed to Maurice Ellis's name. She read it. Didn't even flinch. Then she smiled. A cold, tight smile. It's just business. I stared at her for a long time. Then I smiled too. Not because I was okay. Because she had no idea what was coming. After Jenna smirked and said those 3 words, it's just business, something in me flipped. I stopped feeling like the heartbroken boyfriend. I started thinking like a man who had been robbed. Because that's what it was. Theft. And if she thought I was going to just walk away, she didn't know who she was dealing with. Ty filed the lawsuit within 72 hours. Breach of contract. Fraud. Unjust enrichment. He also filed for an emergency injunction to freeze any sale of Pine and Silk merchandise until the matter was resolved. Jenna didn't take it seriously. She posted on social like nothing had happened. Even went on Instagram Live, wearing one of my original hoodie designs, saying the brand was going through a transition. She made it sound like I had backed out, like I couldn't handle the pressure. The comments came fast. Some people defended her. But others knew the truth. I still had access to the brand's original email account, and I dropped receipts in the right inboxes, screenshots of invoices, texts, the signed co-founder agreement. It didn't take long for word to spread. Then came Maurice Ellis. He emailed me directly. Let's talk this out. No need to make it uglier than it has to be. I ignored it. A few days later, I showed up at the Pine and Silk Fulfillment Center. It was a small warehouse in Durham. I had a court order, signed by a judge, freezing all operations. I still had my name on the lease, which Jenna probably forgot about. The sheriff walked in with me. We shut it all down. Locked the doors. Took inventory. Every hoodie. Every shipment box. Every single piece of packaging tape. Mine now. At least until the court decided otherwise. That's when Jenna finally called me. I let it ring twice. Then I picked up. You made your point, she said. Her voice was low, tight. You win. You happy now? I didn't answer right away. I could hear her breathing on the other end. You think this makes you the good guy? She hissed. You're killing the brand. You're killing what we built. I just said, we didn't build anything. I did. And hung up. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. The next twist came 2 weeks later. Ty got an alert from one of his monitoring systems. Jenna had filed paperwork for a new LLC in Georgia. Different name. Different logo. But same exact product line. Slightly changed item names, but the product shots were the same ones we'd taken months ago, just cropped differently. She tried to clone the entire business, thinking I wouldn't notice. She called it Silk South. She launched it with Maurice as the creative director. I was stunned by how bold it was. She thought if she just changed the name and filed it under a different state, she could restart the whole thing while my lawsuit crawled through court. Ty filed a second suit. This one included trademark infringement and trade dress violation. We contacted every vendor we used for production. I had all the relationships. All the purchase orders. Most of them cut her off immediately once they saw what she was doing. She started getting desperate. Posting half-finished samples, trying to pass off cheaper blanks as luxury fabric. It didn't work. Her quality dropped. Reviews turned ugly. But the real breaking point came from inside her own circle. One of her old-fashioned school classmates, Chelsea, reached out to me on the sly. She'd been one of Jenna's closest friends and had helped with early design sketches. Turns out, Jenna had burned her too. Promised her 5% equity back when they were dreaming together in college. Never gave her a thing. Chelsea sent me screenshots. Voice memos. A Dropbox folder full of old prototype designs, with timestamps showing Jenna had used Chelsea's work without crediting her. We added Chelsea to our legal team as a co-claimant. And the judge took notice. When we showed the court that Jenna had not only violated her contract with me, but had stolen creative work from someone else and tried to rebuild a copycat brand mid-litigation, things turned fast. Jenna stopped showing up to court dates. Maurice tried to take the fall, saying he was just helping a friend, but the evidence was overwhelming. She was the brain behind all of it, and the scam was falling apart. But still, I wasn't satisfied. I didn't want to just win in court. I wanted to win. To take the ashes of what she tried to destroy, and build something that would remind her every single day of what she lost. So I launched my own brand. Not Pine and Silk. That name was poisoned. I called it Salt and Iron. I launched Salt and Iron 6 weeks after the court froze Jenna's operations. The site went live at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. I didn't run ads. I didn't hire influencers. I just posted the truth. A quiet, clean launch, one photo of a hoodie with the caption, "Built with my hands. Paid with my trust. Now it bears my name." The post took off. People remembered the drama. They remembered the story. I wasn't some anonymous dude anymore. I was the guy who got played, and came back swinging. Orders flooded in. I had to hire 2 part-timers just to keep up with packing and shipping. By the 3rd week, I was sold out of half the inventory. Meanwhile, Jenna was scrambling. Her Silk South brand was tanking. She tried pivoting to a YouTube channel, then a podcast. Nothing stuck. The comments followed her everywhere. People weren't forgetting. But just when I thought she'd finally crawl away, she did something I didn't expect. She filed her own lawsuit, against me. Yeah. She claimed I had stolen her designs. That Salt and Iron was based on her original creative concepts, and that I had copied her signature aesthetic. The same aesthetic that came from my money, my logistics, and a co-founder agreement she signed. Ty and I laughed when we read the filing. But deep down, I knew it wasn't funny. See, lawsuits take time. And Jenna was smart enough to drag things out. Delay hearings. Challenge ownership. Demand discovery. Her goal wasn't to win. It was to wear me down. And it almost worked. My legal fees skyrocketed. Between lawyers, warehousing, and trying to keep Salt and Iron afloat, I started dipping into my personal savings again. I sold off the last of my detailing equipment to make payroll. Stopped eating out. Skipped out on a buddy's wedding because I couldn't afford the flight. But the worst came when I found out my parents, God bless them, had been contacted. Jenna sent them an email. A long, twisted message full of half-truths and flat-out lies. She said I'd emotionally manipulated her, that I threatened her when she left the business. She even attached doctored screenshots of texts that made me look unstable. My mom called me in tears. I had to send her court documents just to prove none of it was true. That's when I realized, this wasn't about business anymore for Jenna. It was personal now. She wasn't trying to get the brand back. She wanted to ruin me. And she almost did. I was 2 months away from folding Salt and Iron. Sales slowed during the summer. Legal bills were up to 5 figures. One of the part-timers quit. And I was sitting in the warehouse one night, half drunk on flat beer, staring at a stack of unsold inventory, wondering if I'd made a mistake fighting this hard. Then the break came. One of my early customers, guy named Nate, sent me a DM, said he worked at a regional men's lifestyle magazine in Virginia. They were doing a feature on Southern-made brands that came from nothing, and he wanted to include Salt and Iron. I said sure, whatever. Figured it'd be a 3-sentence blurb. 2 weeks later, it was a full-page spread. Photos. Quotes. My story, front and center. And then, like a spark on dry leaves, it lit up. The magazine got picked up by a syndicated blog. Then Reddit grabbed it. Then a mid-sized Instagram fashion page shared the article and tagged me directly. In 1 week, I had 30,000 new followers. My email exploded. Orders tripled. People weren't just buying clothes anymore, they were buying the story. My story. They weren't supporting a business. They were supporting a man who got screwed and stood back up. It saved me. I paid off the most urgent bills. Hired 2 new fulfillment workers. Expanded to a second storage unit. I even took my first real paycheck from the business. Jenna must have seen it all. Because that's when she showed up in person. I was leaving the warehouse late, 9 p.m., and there she was. Leaning against her car, parked right across the street. Same fake confidence. Same too white smile. Thought you'd like to settle this face to face, she said. I didn't answer. Just kept walking. You really think people are gonna keep buying into this revenge fantasy? She called out. You're not some underdog. You're bitter. You're broken. That's your brand. I turned, calm as I could. Better to be broken than a fraud. She didn't smile at that. Just got in her car and drove away. That was the last time I saw her in person. But something told me she wasn't done yet. Because people like Jenna never walk away until something breaks, and next time, it wasn't going to be me. After Jenna showed up at the warehouse that night, things went quiet for a while. No emails. No new lawsuits. Nothing on her socials. It felt like the eye of a storm, and I wasn't stupid enough to think it was over. Then one morning, Ty called. You sitting down? He sent me a PDF. It was a leaked document from a boutique licensing agency in New York. Turns out, Jenna had been shopping around a new version of Silk South, this time trying to license it as a luxury Southern-inspired women's brand to a big chain retailer. And she used our old design files to do it. The PDF included mock-ups. My original hoodie concept, slightly altered, but the core design, color, and placement were mine. Even the product descriptions were lifted from the old pine and silk copy I'd written back when we first launched. But here's the kicker. One of the buyers she pitched it to, their lead merchandiser happened to be a Salt and Iron customer. He flagged it immediately and forwarded it to me. That was all we needed. Ty filed for a permanent injunction, and this time we didn't just go after Jenna. We went after Maurice Ellis, too. Turns out, Maurice had been hiding a second LLC. This one tied to Jenna's licensing deal, created under a shell corporation in Delaware. We exposed it. We proved that they had knowingly tried to sell stolen concepts to a third party. It wasn't just civil court anymore. Now it was federal. The court granted a full audit of Silk South's financials. Once the audit started, it all unraveled fast. Jenna had used investor money from 2 small angel groups in Atlanta. And she lied to them. Said the brand was original. Said it was her intellectual property. When those investors found out the designs were mine, they pulled their funding and sued her for fraud. Maurice tried to play innocent again, but the feds didn't buy it this time. Wire fraud. Misrepresentation. Tax discrepancies. He was arrested 2 months later. Jenna's world cracked open. Lawsuits from 3 different directions. Legal fees piling up. She had to sell her car, shut down her online store, and when she missed a court date, again. A bench warrant was issued for contempt. She went off the grid. Meanwhile, I was just getting started. With the money coming in from Salt and Iron's second wave, I opened a flagship location in downtown Raleigh. Real brick and mortar. The grand opening was standing room only. My family flew in. Chelsea, the designer Jenna screwed over, came and cut the ribbon with me. I gave her 10% equity in Salt and Iron as a thank you. She cried when I handed her the paperwork. We even built a wall display called The Original Designs. Right there in the store, blown-up sketches, the first hoodie mock-up, and a big plaque that read, Built by Truth. Survived betrayal. I didn't name Jenna. I didn't have to. Everyone in town knew who it was about. Months passed. Sales kept climbing. The brand landed a feature in GQ South. We got invited to Fashion Week Atlanta. A major college basketball team started wearing our jackets in pre-game walks. And then, one cold morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. It was Jenna. Her voice was quiet. Raspy. I know you don't owe me anything, but I lost everything. I made a mistake, okay? I really thought I was doing what I had to. I was scared. I messed up. I'm sorry. She said she was staying with her cousin somewhere in Jacksonville. No car. No job. No one returning her calls. If there's any way you could help me get on my feet, I'd appreciate it. I sat there staring at the wall for a long time. Then I forwarded the voicemail to Ty. He replied with 2 words, let her drown. I never responded. Not because I hated her. But because people like her only understand consequence when it shows up wearing your face. A year later, Salt and Iron crossed $1.2 million in revenue. We expanded to Charlotte. Then Nashville. Then opened a small design studio in Richmond. One of the best sellers. A hoodie from the original Pine and Silk line, same cut, same fit, just rebranded with a new patch. The tag inside reads, designed with loyalty. Stolen by greed. Reclaimed by fire. And on the inside of the pocket, stitched so small you can barely see it, it says, it's just business. Yeah. Business is good.